Hi, morning everyone. My name is Patrice. I'm a senior practitioner in the Looked After Children's team at Camden.
And my name's Esther Fajoy. I'm a team manager in one of the children's social care teams at Camden.
Yeah, and I'm Tim Fisher, and I'm a service manager in Camden. And Patricia and Esther are going to lead the 15 minutes we've got today in this speaker's corner. Thanks very much for inviting us. It's a real nice one to be in this week of collaboration, and social work, after all, is about that solidarity and collaboration. I know that's a big theme of World Social Work Day this year. I'm going to be in the chat. I've done the admin for this, but Patrice and Esther are really leading this out. So they're going to have the dialogue together. And I'm going to be trying to pose some questions in the chat. And for us, and the way we work systemically in Camden, dialogue is really important. So it would be nice if you're able to click on the little speech bubble at the top, as was explained, and engage with some of the chat. That'd be brilliant. And I think, Patrice, we were wanting perhaps a couple of minutes at the end to give an opportunity for people to unmute and come back with some thoughts, weren't we? So bear that in mind as well. Yeah.
So what we can do, I'm going to share on the screen the posters because it is on the Social Work England website, but I think as we explain it, we're going to put it on screen so that you can see the visuals as we go through it.
Okay, so we are going to do something a little bit different today. At Camden, we have a systemic way of practicing. So we are going to have a discussion, Esther and I, about the poster briefly and about our experiences whilst everyone in the room can observe. And then Tim is going to invite people to come in with any comments or questions. We're going to start off with the top right example and work around clockwise. I just want to say quickly that our poster is also up on the website, Social Work England website, if you want to spend more time looking at that today. So the first example is of a Black lady leaving an interview of 3 white panelists, a male and 2 females. And they make a comment about her having experience. So they say, I know she has got the experience, but is she a good fit? So Esther, let me invite you in to explore this with me. What thoughts are coming up for you straight away when you think about this Black lady leaving the room and her facial expressions?
So initial thoughts are mainly about, for example, as you see from the picture, as a young Black lady who sort of embraces her natural hair and maybe might be comparing herself to the panelists if someone doesn't really look like her. And sometimes if she goes back thinking that she's a good fit, or she has experience but she's not quite a good fit, that can lead with a lot of experiences to feel, why am I not a good fit? What sort of ideas are you looking for? Is that, of course, there's the professional experience, but if you have that, then what is missing? So is it about fitting to the box or agenda of what the makeup of maybe the team want, or feeling that they don't quite fit in because they might need to change certain aspects of their appearance to possibly look westernized or not. But then there's a lot of themes that come through. And of course, these are just the person's initial feelings about how they may feel if they are rejected, if they had the experience but they don't quite fit in. And this is something that, you know, some workers have said they've experienced both in social work and outside of social work, about not fitting into the box or agenda of certain organisations. How about you, Patrice?
Yes, and I think also it's just a very obvious comment, but what does her look got anything to do with her doing her role? And, you know, the comment about not being the right fit is that obviously that's for the panelists themselves, but in terms of the community that she's working with, depending on where she's working, she could be a great fit. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, it could be relational, and I think these are the things that we need to think about as well, especially in recruitment, you know, and in social work, you know, we also do recruitment too, and we want our, you know, we need to be inclusive and feel that everyone has the right fit, because obviously, especially in social work, we work with a variety of people from all sorts of different backgrounds and experiences, so it's quite important that, you know, we represent that diversity.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's go on to the next example. So we have a Black father saying, I didn't know about the meeting, why didn't you call me? And we have a white female social worker typing, father became agitated and aggressive. So this example is a classic example that actually a lot of Black fathers that we work with have expressed this before. My initial thoughts are, of course, what is aggression, and even like in our practice, we know that not everyone can communicate very well. It doesn't excuse them for being inappropriate, but of course, we know that we're working with very challenging families who had very challenging experiences, and if we're thinking systemically and holistically about that. We know that it may be challenging for them to communicate, but in actual fact, in this example, he's not communicating inappropriately, is he? He's saying, I didn't know about this meeting. He's questioning why he wasn't contacted and told about this meeting, which is a fair question. And we know that fathers are not included in the assessment process in the way that we include mothers. And this has been an ongoing thing for us in social work. So in terms of the social worker not addressing that, or even addressing that directly, but writing that down in the case note where that's going to tarnish that gentleman and possibly have an impact on him being able to spend time with his children, or depending on what assessment that is really, really worrying. And this is, like we said, a classic example. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I completely agree. And I think particularly we've seen it in our caseloads where, you know, some people from certain cultures or backgrounds, sometimes the way they communicate may not be the same as everyone else. So they may appear more passionate when they're speaking. And that could be incorrectly interpreted as being aggressive. However, it all depends on the context of what they're saying. If they're clearly just expressing how they feel, if in their culture that may be more expressive or passionate, it's about us being entwined to understand how they're trying to express themselves so that we can understand each other's communication and language without making that assumption based on how we communicate ourselves. We all come from different backgrounds and communicate differently. So, and I think, you know, families have said this before where they feel that they express themselves quite passionately and have been interpreted as being aggressive. And that's been written in assessments. And, you know, consequently, later social workers or even court might have that interpretation that they're aggressive or challenging when that has not particularly been the same scenario or the case.
Of course. And it brings something home to me that I've been talking a lot about, is linking our assessment of risk to culture, heritage, background, and having an understanding that actually all cultures communicate very differently. And just going off of a presentation of someone, especially when actually we have to reverse that and think, well, if we are typing about the person in this way, what is it about how we're feeling that is coming up for us? And it would be interesting to flip that on the social worker and ask, you know, what about this conversation is challenging for you? What is that bringing up for you? Why do you feel that he's been aggressive? Is it that you're fearful about something? Is it that some guilt is coming up for you because of, in actual fact, you haven't included father in that way? Is that challenging your profession and your person, that sense of self in that situation?
Yes.
Okay, so the next example is a very pertinent one. So this is a Black female social worker with a white male professional, and he questions, when is the social worker coming? And she says, I'm here, I'm standing in front of you. we've spoken about this one quite a lot, haven't we, Esther? For personal experiences. Do you want to go first?
Well, yeah, I think this resonates for myself and other workers as well, both inside of social work and even outside of social work. But there has been sort of feeling that, you know, why are we not recognised as being as professional if we walked into a room and the initial response or, you know, thought is that, are you an admin worker? Or someone that's sort of not within the professional network of the social care sort of family that they're working with. And that does bring sort of feelings to feel, okay, well, even if I was an admin worker or any other profession, there's nothing wrong with that. But why is that the initial response? And sometimes that does, you know, feel back to, is it about stereotypes? And these are sometimes the unconscious thoughts that may be in people's minds. And sometimes we do have the question, okay, why is that? And step back, just to ensure that, you know, people don't feel that they're seen as not being professional or not having certain roles. Even for myself, you know, I've been booked to rooms and people wouldn't assume I'm a team manager, for example, until I've said, despite me discussing, you know, saying I'm here to discuss the case or whatnot, and I'm feeling that my presence here does show that, but then I kind of had to remind, or just have to declare it, even though I'm in the room with the social care network. But I mean, that's my personal experience. How about yourself, Patrice?
Yeah, so I've had this exact situation many a time when I was working in long-term child protection team. I would have admin assistant, which is not, the thing is, what is disappointing is there's nothing wrong with being an admin assistant or being business support, any other professional. But when going to gather professionals to come into the conference, I've often been thought as the admin, and until I get into the conference, people realize that I'm the social worker, and then that trickles down later on to my relationship with them because they find it difficult to take direction or take advice. And yeah, so even this week I had court on Monday, and I had a challenging experience getting into the court, because security thought I was a parent, and it took about 20 minutes to get through the front door through security. Even though I had showed my badge, I was still referred to as being the mother on a case. And I think that it's also very disappointing that even if I was the mother, I would be treated like that. Another example was when I had to attend a MAPA meeting. I had the security not let me into probation because they thought I was a young person, and I had a student social worker with me observing, and they referred to her as my mother and refused to let me enter. And so this is a challenging thing. I think that I can't talk for all Black people, but for sure for me, I tend to brush things like this off. And I think because it happens so often, so frequent, we brush it off and we continue. And this happens weekly. I can say this is an experience for a lot of social workers weekly. And now managing Black and brown staff, it is even more challenging to try and hold them in those spaces, to support them going through that. So let's move on to this last, we're going to use this as a last example, then we want to open it up for people to ask any questions or share some reflections.
Just to say, sorry, Patrice, you've got a couple of minutes, so please do finish on this last one. Some great stuff in the chat. I'm not sure we'll be able to come to it, but be reassured there's lots of conversation going on. So yeah, it's great to hear this last bit. Thank you.
All right, so this is a Black mother and a white social worker, and the Black mother's child is standing in front of them, and she's referring to her hair as being unkempt. She says, "Why is her hair so dry? What products are you using?" And the social worker says, "We only have one hair salon. They did their best." So this is an experience that many parents have expressed, I would say, within our Looked After Children's team. And we're doing a lot of work in the fostering team at the moment to address issues like this and in residential care. but it's often that Black children are not thought of when providing substance for products for the skin, products for the hair. Our products tend to need a little bit more money. They need a different level of care, and this is often overlooked. Just quite disappointing. Anything you want to add on this, Esther?
No, I mean, you summed it up. I mean, I'd like you say we're doing so much work on that to ensure that, of course, there's about placing a child with someone who can care for them, most importantly, but of course, other aspects of their care or their hair or physical skin. We need to be conscious of that if we're placing them in placements which aren't culturally matched, and just to ensure that those needs aren't ignored or maybe not prioritized, because it's quite important for a young person's well-being, for their hair and their skin to not look dry, but to be maintained as well, so it doesn't create any extra stigma, particularly as they're trying to transition to their placement or new care.
Yeah. So we'll put the link in the chat box for you guys to have a little look at the whole poster, and just please, my email address is on there. Please reach out if you have any questions or you want to share your thoughts or your reflections.
And thank you.
Thanks so much, Esther and Patrice. That's just amazing and has generated so much chat. So hopefully you'll be able to go into that now. You've stopped presenting, you stopped sharing, and go and have a look at it. Go on, Patrice.
We'll pop our Twitters in the chat as well, so you guys.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks so much. And gosh, I do wish we had more time, but we don't. So I want to make sure we get the other two speakers in. Thank you. Just a reminder for presenters to go on mute and turn their cameras off. And anyone else, if you could turn your camera off, that would be better for the recording. Otherwise, you will feature on the recording, which may not bother you. But yeah, it's a better experience for all if you can turn your cameras off. Thank you. So I'm now going to share a video from Philip Blurton from East Sussex Council on the theme is really similar, on a similar vein, developing an equality and inclusion strategy. I'm not going to say any more because the video explains itself. This is our next 15-minute slot in Speaker's Corner.
My name is Philip Blurton and I'm the Principal Social Worker for Adult Social Care at East Sussex County Council. This is an introductory video about our newly launched Equality and Inclusion Strategy. Deciding to have an equality and inclusion strategy is a step in itself. It demonstrates that as an organisation, we want all sections of our community to have fair and equal access to our services. And for our staff, it demonstrates that we value their diversity and want a workplace where they are all included and can be themselves. Come and meet our teams, our clients and carers, and our leaders, talking about what this means to them and how our equality and inclusion strategy was created.
Equality is about creating a fairer society where everyone can participate and has the opportunity to fulfill their potential. It's about identifying patterns of experience based on group identity and the challenging processes that limit individuals' potential health and life chances. An equalities approach understands that our social identity in terms of sex, gender identity, race, disability, age, social class, sexuality, religion, and other identities will impact on our life experiences. Despite the challenges we face collectively and as individuals, we believe our equality and inclusion strategy will have real benefits for East Sussex residents. It's a work of shared values and vision created through listening to citizens, service users, communities, partners, stakeholders and staff.
We set about working on our equality strategy in July 2019. After a period of 6 months of engagement with 500 staff, partners, residents, clients, and other stakeholders, we came up with 5 priorities that will help tackle some of the most prominent issues that our department is faced with. Through this strategy, we want to make equality more visible so that whether working for us or with us, or as a person using our services, people are always treated fairly and with respect and dignity. We have 5 key priority areas which will ensure we get to know our communities better. We collect more robust data from our clients, engage and include our residents in decision making, invest in staff training, and create a safe, fair, and inclusive environment for our staff.
I'm really pleased that our new equality strategy will help us gather better information about the people we work with and will help us identify any gaps where we might need to improve. Understanding health inequalities better is the first step in addressing gaps in provision, and I am hopeful that this strategy will help us to do that. Like everything else, organisations have to continually strive to get better at provision of services, and I am pleased that I work in a team where non-discrimination and fairness are our key values.
As an employee, it's important to me that equality and inclusion is at the heart of the organisation and informs all policy, ensuring that all employees feel safe, welcome and valued. Training is important to raise awareness of unconscious biases and create an inclusive environment. It allows for diversity and difference to be respected and celebrated, as well as recognising disadvantage. As a practitioner, such values inform my practice with people to empower clients to be the expert of their own life and experiences, and allows for clients to be supported to have their own voice and choices. It's also about providing active support consistent with their beliefs, culture and preferences. I feel that putting the values of equality and inclusion into practice is a dynamic process which requires ongoing training, self-development and practice reflection.
So as Equality and Diversity Champion in my team, I try to see myself as unique, not different. It's important for each of us to recognise that we all have personal unconscious biases about different groups of people. This can be a difficult area for us to think about, but once we've acknowledged them, hopefully we can dispel these biases when they arise by consciously changing our behaviour to send a clear message about not reinforcing adverse stereotypes. So hopefully by our behaviour, it'll enable people to access the same opportunities and the same fair treatment. It's really pleasing to see that our new equality and inclusion strategy will focus on staff too.
We have to address the power structures that lead to people being treated unfairly and being underrepresented in all areas of the council, especially in the areas of senior leadership. Representation also brings knowledge, skills and experiences that, when listened to, can lead to changes in attitudes and approaches. Having an equality and inclusion strategy is long overdue. The fact that we are still talking about equality and inclusion in 2021 is embarrassing and worrying. However, I am happy that it is now formally on the agenda within an equality and inclusion strategy. It must now lead to real change. I don't want it to be tokenistic or a tick box exercise.
I want to be treated with dignity and respect. It's a basic human right. When a social worker comes around to my home, I don't want to feel like I'm being judged. I've already proved that I'm disabled. My doctors have supported me, so why do I feel like I'm being judged to see if I'm really disabled? It can feel like I'm under a microscope. I want to be treated fairly. I am a disabled lady, a little older, with the strong belief who's maybe just a little bit crazy. I hate discrimination. I have dealt a lot with it in my last 20 years, and some of it has been really horrid. I hope as service users I can help East Sussex with their equality and inclusion strategy. I think it's important that we as service users help social services. It is the only way things will change. If we as service users can explain what it's like to be us, then it will enable services to understand us.
Okay. We all know that living with prejudice is traumatic. If understanding service users allows for the impact of lived experience and positive equality and inclusion practices can accommodate them, then it gets to the heart of things more quickly. Sometimes healing is just in being seen and validated. It's a more effective use of resources. When people are working together rather than against each other, everything works better. When I'm in a caring role for my brother, I see how important it is for him to have his life experience acknowledged and the experiences that he wished he'd had. He's very cognitively impaired now, but he needs to be spoken to with the respect that is given to an adult man. He wishes that he'd had children and often wishes that he could be the man that he wants, who's there for his family and a provider. My brother's trauma is also my trauma. His life events have been my life events. Before any diagnoses or interventions, I was there trying my best to deal with the situation. As his carer, it's important to me the impact of my experiences as a sibling of someone with his level of challenges is accounted for and treated with care. An equalities and inclusion strategy would therefore impact positively on my mental health by association. I feel very positive about this strategy. It's a concrete signal that a humanitarian approach to service users is seen as important. It indicates that service users will be seen as holistic entities with a history, a voice, and a definition of themselves that will be validated and valued. The strategy asks service providers to see their users as whole people with valid challenges and strengths. It asks a lot from service providers because it will mean that they have to really pay close attention to the nuanced experiences of people who may not have had any shared social experience with them. Trying to understand where other people are coming from is very challenging, but ultimately central to what it is to be human.
Since becoming registered vision impaired in 2005, I have found that sight impaired and blindness people are not fully catered for when it comes to discussing actioning for disabled people in so many aspects of life. I also find that when I attend meetings or go to functions, if I get to the meeting first, I'm sitting down, in brackets, looking normal and acting normal. But as soon as I get up and use my white cane symbol stick, I find people talk to me and react to me differently, not treating me as the whole person, a unique individual person. I also do not like it when people assume all I want to do is discuss my disability, which has caused me a lot of heartache and distress in my life. What people do not realise is when someone is affected by a disability, just treat us as you like to be treated, with respect, dignity and intelligence. Diversity just means inclusion, treating people as the person, not identifying them by their wheelchair, simple cane stick or disability. Means treat us as you like to be treated, with respect and dignity.
COVID-19 has bared the reality of disparity in our society. We need to make sure we keep working to ensure that people are not discriminated because of their backgrounds, where they were born, and what their race, religion, or ethnicity is. I'm looking forward to the setting up of Race Equality Reference Group that can bring together the voices of people from different cultural backgrounds of East Sussex together. There's an awful lot we still have to achieve in East Sussex, and this equality and inclusion strategy is a good start.
We need to keep engagement with residents at the heart of our work. With this new strategy, we have committed to include equality considerations in all our decision making. Equality and engagement will be in every project initiation document, in every report that goes to senior management, and in the planning and commissioning of all the work we do. We are making inroads into improving our communication and engagement with our clients and residents. By putting fairness and equity at the centre of everything we do, we want to show we mean business when we say we want to bring sustainable and equitable changes for everyone. I'm very proud of the work our teams do, and with the new equality strategy, I'm sure that we will get better at our equality data monitoring, performance and analysis.
In order to be effective commissioners, we need to understand our local population, identify those least likely to be heard, be proactive in reaching them through our engagement activities, and consider the needs of those who experience the worst health outcomes. With this strategy, we are placing client and carer inclusion and citizen engagement at the heart of all of our work. With more insight into what our clients, their carers and our residents need, we can directly influence our practice, policy and planning. By ensuring that the voices of local people are reflected appropriately, we can commission services and support which better reflect the needs of the residents of East Sussex.
Our practitioners on the front line are engaging with clients and carers from diverse backgrounds every day. I know we want to get this engagement the best it can be to make the greatest positive difference to the lives of everyone we are working with. Understanding where this can go wrong and what can make it right is directly and crucially relevant to our role. This strategy will help us better understand the needs of all the people we serve, enabling us to maximise the difference we can make through each interaction with a client or a carer. The strategy also demonstrates that we value and support the diversity of our workforce, whether we are out in the community or with our colleagues at work. Getting it right for our clients, carers and our practitioners is fundamental to meeting our legal duties and making East Sussex a more inclusive, better place to live and work.
I have been truly inspired by the way in which so many people came forward to be part of this film, and importantly, are coming together to help implement the strategy. The strategy gives us specific areas of work on which to focus, sets tasks and requirements to move us forward, and is an explicit statement of where we stand on equality and inclusion. At a time when there are so many irrational and intolerant voices clamouring for attention, it is more important than ever to nail our colours to the mast and show others where we stand. Equality and inclusion must be at the heart of everything we do and everything that we are. As Principal Social Worker, I am proud to stand by our strategy and see it shared as part of Social Work Week 2021. Thank you for watching.
So thank you to East Sussex County Council for that video and overview. If anyone's got any comments they want to pop in the chat about that as well, please do. Philip will look back at them afterwards. But I'll swiftly move on to Casey and Tanya from Essex to talk to us about how they brought the views of social workers to life in their film. Just need to unmute as well, Casey.
There we go. Thank you so much. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. I thought we would start with some introductions. So I am Casey Hodson. I'm one of the resourcing business partners at Essex County Council. And
I'm Tanya Patchett. I'm the people business partner for children, families and education at Essex.
So we thought we would start by showing you the video in question, and then what we'll do is we'll talk you through the concept and the how we delivered the video, and then open up to any thoughts or questions at the end. So I'm just going to play this now for you.
Oh, I don't think there's any sound. There isn't for me.
Oh, okay.
Did you toggle
my screen with sound? Yeah. Let me
don't know if it's just me. Tanya, could you hear?
No, I couldn't hear it either.
Okay, let me try again. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, we've definitely got it with the sound. So let's second time lucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't change a life without hope, without heart. Believe us, we know. We are the hope that every family can have a great start or restart. We are the heart. We, the social workers, understand that hope is more than just a word.
Oh.
What it takes to make every family feel loved, to feel heard. Because hope and heart is what every family deserves. Every family who calls our county home. Those who feel lost, forgotten, or alone. No one's beyond our help. Everyone's worth it. It doesn't matter to us if a family isn't perfect. We're here to cherish each and every connection with empathy and understanding. We see past imperfection. We see a brighter direction, and the good that's got nowhere to go. There's no magic to it. Just hope and heart and a lot of hard work. Just determination and dedication to put others first. There's no magic to it. None. Change only comes from doing whatever we can for them. That's how even the quietest child can find their first friend. Or a parent can feel empowered to provide for their kids. Or another who will have a place of their own to live. There's really no magic to it. Just guts and grit that keep us working through it. It takes resilience to move forward without fear. But we're telling you, it's worth it working here. Because when that light bulb finally goes on and change becomes real, there's no better reward than the way that it feels. And they feel, this is for real, this job.
It's what fills us with hope
for this thing we call living.
So trust when we say,
it's just the beginning.
Tanya, over to you.
Yes, so in respect of the concept, we really wanted to draw on our systemic practice. We wanted to connect with people and really get to the point that everything that we do within children and family social care at Essex has the heart of the family at it. So we really wanted to bring that through as part of the film, so that it had the sort of real rooted feeling that actually what's important to us as social care within Essex.
There we go. On to the message. So we decided to run this campaign with a spoken word route, as you heard, to really make an impact. So to create the poem, we actually initially surveyed our own social workers across ECC to get their views on what being a social worker meant to them and why they decided to come and work for Essex County Council. These survey responses then went to the creative company to draft the poem, which Tanya and I made several amendments to ensure that it really reflected our way of communicating, the language that we use, and particularly to make sure that it was aligned to our systemic approach. It was also essential to us to make sure that inclusive language was used throughout. And then finally, to really get to the final draft that you hear in the video, we then needed to hear it to see if the content was right. It wasn't quite captured with it just us seeing it on paper. So Tanya herself actually recorded herself talking through the poem, and hearing it really enabled us to refine it to the final draft that you do hear. So you can see a couple of the lines throughout this slide.
Okay, so onto the development of the video. There's a lot more involved with this than actually I probably could have ever considered, to be honest. So we had to consider the location, the casting, how we would approach both of those things, and what was really important to us. There was discussions that we had with our creative media agency around maximising both of these things, and we had to look at, from a location perspective, what was around that wouldn't date it. Casey's going to talk a little bit more about the COVID impact a little bit later on, but that was one of the things that we had to consider. We originally wanted to film in public places so that we had families all around and people could be seen and heard, but of course with everybody in lockdown, then that wasn't going to be possible, and it really felt a little bit eerie to think about some of the locations we were considering having no public in the background. So that was a big consideration. We obviously had to do all of the casting virtually, and when we were looking at how we would approach this, we originally wanted to do the whole poem with our own staff members. So as you've heard, the concept and the information that went into this was fed from our social care staff, and we wanted to really reflect their views. So it felt right for them to be delivering the poem. We had lots of discussions about it, and actually in the end it was agreed that we would use an actor for the main part, partly because of longevity of the film, because obviously if people leave, then we may not be able to use their content, etc. So what we did is we had the actor record all of the lines of the poem, and then we wanted to have our own staff in who then delivered some of the lines at the end, as you saw. But because we were able to get the actor to record all of the lines at the point that any of those people were to leave Essex or to withdraw their permission for us to use their section, then we can replace that section with the actor. One of the other reasons, something that I hadn't even perhaps respected as well as I should have, is the value of having an actor. The delivery of the poem was really nailed by this person, and when we had our own staff reading the lines, they just weren't able to do it in the same way, not because they didn't feel passionate about it, but just in terms of it wouldn't be the way that they would normally choose to speak, and because they're not actors themselves, then it wasn't quite so easy for them to get the message across. So we hope that the blended approach does deliver both the things that we were looking to.
So as Tanya said, COVID scuppered some of our initial plans from when we had the original concept conversations with the production company. So as we mentioned, everything was completed via video conference call, from every conversation we had with the production company to the casting of the actor and everything in between. We visited the location that we chose in the end, which was Royal Gunpowder Mills, just to ensure that they had adhered to all of the health and safety risks and COVID restrictions. Everybody that was present on the site on the day received some COVID training before filming, and there was a supervisor on site just in case anybody was unwell or there were too many risks and we'd have to stop filming. Everybody was supplied with PPE, and I can confirm from first-hand experience of being on site on the day, everybody was organised into different areas. We had different slots of time, so the actor was filmed in the morning and our staff came in the afternoon, just to minimise as many risks as possible, really, and ensure that we were able to deliver on what we wanted to, but in a COVID-safe way in the current circumstances. So we've talked you through everything. And what we thought would be beneficial is to actually show you the video again, to see kind of if you had any further thoughts or feedback, purely from hearing how we delivered the video, and also our kind of thought process behind it. So I'll click through to the next slide because I don't think anyone wants to watch a tiny version of that video. There we go, and I'll just press play now.
You can't change a life without hope, without heart. Believe us, we know. We are the hope that every family can have a great start or restart. We are the heart. We, the social workers, understand that hope is more than just a word. We know what it takes to make every family feel loved, to feel heard. Because hope and heart is what every family deserves. Every family who calls our county home. Those who feel lost, forgotten, or alone. No one's beyond our help. Everyone's worth it. It doesn't matter to us if a family isn't perfect. We're here to cherish each and every connection with empathy and understanding. We see past imperfection. We see a brighter direction and the good that's got nowhere to go. There's no magic to it. Just hope and heart and a lot of hard work. Just determination and dedication to put others first. There's no magic to it. None. Change only comes from doing whatever we can for them. That's how even the quietest child can find their first friend. Or a parent can feel empowered to provide for their kids. Or another who will have a place of their own to live. There's really no magic to it. Just guts and grit that keep us working through it. It takes resilience to move forward without fear. But we're telling you, it's worth it working here. Because when that light bulb finally goes on and change becomes real, there's no better reward than the way that it feels. And they feel, this is for real, this job.
It's what fills us with hope.
For this thing we call living.
So trust when we say,
It's just the beginning.
Thank you so much. I don't know if we have time for any questions, but I thought I'd put this slide in anyway.
There is,
No, thank you. We probably don't, mostly because it's 12:40 on the dot. Thank you so much for fitting in that time. That was perfect. And what a powerful video. So much in the chat. Hopefully you've been able to see that and you'll be able to see it afterwards. And just a really stimulating speakers corner, great discussion, people making connections. It's been an absolute privilege to to be part of this and to chair this session. So thank you, Casey and Tanya in particular, for that last one. So just to remind people that this is recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel after the week is over. Also to remind you about your CPD if you're a social worker, that you can use this as a reflection and log that on your online account with Social Work England. And Katia will be posting in the chat the link to the survey for this session, just so we can get a bit of post-event feedback. That would be great. But for now, I'll let you go and grab some lunch. Thanks for joining us today and hope to see you at other parts of Social Work Week later this week. Thanks ever so much, everybody.